Imagine standing outside on a quiet night, far from traffic and neon, where the sky feels like a deep lake of light. You tilt your head, and the world seems to slow down. Stars hold their places, yet every star is moving. The Milky Way is a pale river that climbs the dark and slips beyond the roof of your house. A satellite drifts and is gone. Your eyes climb until they meet a limit that is not a wall, but a silence, a line beyond which nothing more appears. We call that line the edge of the observable universe, and beyond it lies a wider reality that our light has not yet had time to tell us about. The edge is not a barrier we can touch. It is a horizon set by time, by distance, and by the constant speed of light. Knowing that such a horizon exists is not a reason to feel small. It is a reminder that the world is larger than our senses, and that mystery can be gentle when it is allowed to stretch out and breathe. The universe, as far as we can tell, began about 13.8 billion years ago. The name Big Bang is convenient, but it does not describe an explosion inside a room. It was the expansion of space itself, a beginning that brought time and matter into being. In the first tiny fraction of a second, the young universe rushed outward and cooled. Quarks joined into protons and neutrons. Later, electrons found partners and the first atoms formed. Light that had been trapped in a bright fog began to travel freely. That ancient light has been moving ever since, carrying news from the past toward our present. It is the reason we can look outward and look backward at the same time. When we study the sky, we are reading old letters that finally arrived, and every letter tells us something about how the first pages were written. Because light has a speed, our view is limited. The farthest light that can reach us today sets the size of the observable universe. It is not simply the age of the universe times the speed of light, because while the light was on its way, the space between here and there kept stretching. Think of dots painted on a balloon. As the balloon inflates, the dots drift apart even if they do not crawl across the rubber. Galaxies behave like those dots. They are carried along by the growth of space. That is why the most distant galaxies are much farther from us now than they were when their light began the trip. The result is a visible sphere around us, with a radius of roughly 46 billion light-years. Outside that sphere, the story continues, but the pages have not yet arrived at our door. Our deepest look backward ends at a foggy curtain called the cosmic microwave background. About 380,000 years after the beginning, the universe cooled enough for neutral atoms to appear. Once that happened, light could cross space without being scattered. The glow from that moment still fills the sky, stretched into microwave wavelengths by the long expansion since. Delicate instruments see a nearly uniform bath with tiny ripples. Those ripples mark places that were slightly denser than their surroundings. Over billions of years, gravity strengthened those small advantages into galaxies, clusters, and the great filaments that lace the cosmos. The map of that faint glow is our baby picture. It is also a curtain. Beyond it, light cannot show us more, so we must use patient inference and the language of mathematics to imagine the wider scene. When people hear the word edge, they often picture a cliff or a fence. The cosmic edge is more like the sea horizon. Sail long enough, and the line of blue always sits ahead. If you were to jump to a faraway galaxy, your new horizon would center on you, and it would include places we cannot see from here. Every observer carries a private circle of sight that overlaps with the circles of others. The universe is a tapestry of horizons, each one a local limit that depends on where and when you are. Because the horizon is defined by time and light, rather than by a wall, it is soft in spirit. You can approach it for a lifetime and it will continue to move, polite and patient. The expansion of space shapes that horizon. The distant galaxies are not racing away like cars on a highway. Space itself stretches. which pulls far objects apart. The rate of that stretching appears to be increasing. We give the name dark energy to whatever drives that acceleration, though the label is an admission that we do not yet understand it. Because of this acceleration, there are regions already receding from us faster than light. This does not break any rule, because no object is outrunning light through space. Rather, the space between us grows. Light from those regions will never reach us. They are beyond our future horizon, forever out of view. There are ideas that say the part we see is one cell in a larger structure. In the earliest sliver of time, the universe may have gone through a period of inflation, an almost unimaginable surge in size that smoothed and flattened everything. Inflation explains the evenness of the background glow and the way small ripples look the same at many scales. Some versions keep going in other places, spawning many bubble regions with different properties. If that is true, our observable world is one bubble among many. Each bubble might have numbers for its physical constants that are slightly different from ours. Most of them would remain forever separate, with no way to send a message between. This picture is speculative, yet it is an honest attempt to follow the clues where they lead. Suppose you could stand at the edge of our observable sphere and look outward. You would not find a blank emptiness. You would see more galaxies and more dark, arranged in the same web that we map at home. You would have your own background glow, your own circle of farthest light. The edge is not a border drawn on the universe. It is a boundary drawn by time, by the age of light that has had a chance to arrive where you are. Two observers separated by a great gulf will disagree about which distant things can be seen. Yet they are watching the same grand play from different seats. We do more than look with light. We also listen to other messengers. Neutrinos, almost ghostly particles, can cross dense regions that would stop light. Gravitational waves, gentle ripples in space and time made by the motion of heavy objects, pass through the universe with little loss. These signals widen our sense of what is knowable, yet they do not erase the horizon. There is still a region beyond which no story can be told to us, because there has not been enough time for any messenger to arrive. The silence beyond the edge is not hostile. It is simply the present limit of communication. The future of the edge is as interesting as its shape today. Because expansion is accelerating, more and more galaxies will slip over our horizon. Their light will stretch until it falls beyond what our detectors can gather. In a very distant future, the night sky from any one galaxy may look almost empty. The background glow will fade into a black that hides its past. An astronomer born then might conclude that the universe is small and quiet. The evidence we see today would no longer exist for them, and it would take great leaps of inference to rebuild the old picture. There is a gentle comfort in knowing that the edge exists. Limits set a rhythm. They tell us we live in a moment with a certain reach, and that this reach is enough to ask good questions. When your eyes close and you picture the sky, the thought that there is more than you can see does not shrink you. It connects you to a scale that can hold every worry you bring outside. The horizon is a soft boundary that keeps the room large, and it invites patience. Philosophers have long wondered whether infinity belongs to the world or only to our ideas. An infinite universe fits the equations and does not require an outer wall. A finite yet unbounded universe is also possible, a space where a straight path eventually returns to its start. There are tests that can hint at shape, such as looking for repeating patterns in the background glow, as if the sky were a hall of mirrors. So far, the evidence leans toward a very large, perhaps infinite cosmos, but our measurements always carry a margin of uncertainty. We learn, adjust, and measure again. To talk about the edge is to talk about time. Light that reaches us from a galaxy 10 billion light-years away began its trip when Earth was young. We are not seeing that galaxy as it is, but as it was. The farther we look, the younger the universe appears. Our deepest images are family albums from a time before the heavy elements of life were common. Beyond them, beyond the first stars, the darkness is not empty. It is simply waiting for light to grow old enough to arrive. That patience gives the night a calm that matches the way our breathing slows when we look up. People sometimes ask whether we could ever travel to the edge. Even at extraordinary speeds, the distances are so large that a single voyage would span many generations. More importantly, the edge would move as you moved. You would chase a line that always lies ahead. The practical answer is that we will travel with instruments. We will build larger mirrors, quieter detectors, and smarter ways to sift signals from noise. We will also travel with theory, because thinking is a kind of voyage that lets us test many worlds in a single evening. There is kindness in the way the universe teaches. It gives us gentle clues. It lets us measure a faint hiss left over from a hot beginning. It lets us watch distant supernovae and learn that expansion is speeding up. It lets us weigh clusters and notice that visible matter is not enough, that dark matter must be shaping the dance. Each clue points beyond itself. Each clue suggests that what we can see is only a chapter in a thicker book. Beyond the edge, there are more chapters, and it is fine that they are still closed. Stand again in the night and breathe. Notice how your breath slows to the pace of crickets and far traffic. The edge is not a drama. It is a quiet fact that settles the mind. Somewhere, far outside your circle of sight, light is on its way from places you will never know. Somewhere, far inside, a photon that began its trip soon after the beginning is landing on the sensor of a satellite, adding its dot to a map. The scale between those two somewheres is the size of our present. When we share stories about the edge, we are sharing a way to rest. The unknown can feel sharp during the day. At night, it can feel soft. Beyond the horizon, there is not a void that threatens us. There is a continuation of pattern and law, and maybe of surprise. We live in a universe that allows the growth of questions and the patience to hold them. A calm curiosity is a good companion for sleep. Another practical thought is measurement. Every distance we report carries a margin of uncertainty. Astronomers build ladders of comparison, from parallax to standard candles to redshift, and each rung adds a blur. Yet the picture holds steady. The universe expands. The pattern of matter forms a web. The background glow remembers a hot youth. Within that picture, the edge sits where time and light agree to pause our view. Knowing the limits of knowledge is part of knowledge. It keeps our words honest and our wonder intact. If you could speak with an observer far beyond our horizon, you would trade different maps of the same whole. To them, we would be the unreachable region. Our galaxies would slip beyond their edge. Our story would be a rumor their instruments could not catch. Yet the rules that make atoms and the rules that send light in straight lines would be their rules as well, near enough that a bridge of understanding could be built if only distance allowed. It is soothing to think that curiosity might rhyme across great gulfs. If there are minds out there, they may wonder about their own edge while we wonder about ours. They may map their sky, count their galaxies, and listen for the whisper of a background that speaks of a hot origin. They may feel the same mix of smallness and belonging. They may also stand outside at night, though their night could be under a different color of star, with constellations that have no names in any of our books. The edge ties such nights together. There are practical questions that ride with the poetry. Could space be slightly curved so that large triangles do not add to 180 degrees? Could there be echoes across the background glow, hints that light has wrapped around and met itself? Teams have looked for such signatures. So far, the sky appears plain, which is a kind of wonder. Simplicity at grand size lets complexity bloom in stars, planets, oceans, and minds. A quiet canvas allows detail to speak. We close with a simple truth. Not knowing can be gentle. What exists beyond the edge might be vast plains of more universe. It might be other regions sparked by inflation. It might be a shape that your mind can only hold as metaphor. Think of a shore where water and sky trade colors. Think of a path that bends behind a hill. You do not need to see the rest of the path to keep walking. You do not need to see the rest of the universe to keep wondering. Tonight, when you turn out the light, let the idea of the horizon travel with you. Let it be a soft boundary that keeps the room large. Know that you live at the center of a personal sphere of sight some 92 billion light years wide, and that everyone else lives at the center of their own sphere too. Between these spheres, there is overlap, and in the overlap, there is community. Beyond them, there is quiet and continuation. Sleep, and let the edge hold its watch.